Kriya Yoga is not just exercise. It's the science of controlling life energy. Dear friend, first, I want you to let go of the misconception that Kriya Yoga is a series of movements or a method of physical exercise to become healthier. No, if you approach Kriya Yoga in that way, you're only just outside the gate. Paramahansa Yogananda didn't bring Kriya Yoga to the world to create another school of yoga. He brought an inner science, an ancient technology of consciousness, preserved for thousands of years in the lineage of enlightened Indian yogis. 1. What is Kriya Yoga in the true spirit of Yogananda? Kriya Yoga, in the language of the sages, is the art of consciously controlling prana, bringing the life force back to the central axis of the spine, instead of being dispersed outward through the senses, emotions, and thoughts. I emphasize conscious control. Most of humanity breathes, lives, ages, and gets sick in a state of unconsciousness. Prana, the cosmic life force, enters their bodies, but is not guided, not refined, not redistributed. What are the consequences? Energy leakage, overloaded nervous system, disordered cells, clouded consciousness, and time begins to erode the body. Kriya Yoga does not fight against time. Kriya Yoga goes beyond the influence of time. 2. Why can't modern yoga fundamentally rejuvenate? You can stretch your body. You can practice breathing exercises. You can meditate. But if prana isn't brought back to the spine, you're only optimizing a system that's going in the wrong direction. Paramahansa Yogananda taught, age is not measured by years, but by the amount of prana flowing in the spinal axis. The spine is not just bones and nerves. It is the energy highway connecting the finite body with the infinite consciousness. When prana leaves this axis, the person enters the aging process. When prana returns, that process reverses. 3. Prana, the forgotten life force of modern civilization. The modern world talks about calories, hormones, vitamins, but not about prana. That's like trying to fix a complex electronic machine without checking the current. Prana is the subtle fuel of the nervous system, the brain, the endocrine system, and each individual cell. When prana is weak, cells age. When prana is blocked, disease appears. When prana is scattered, the mind becomes disordered. Kriya Yoga does not add prana from the outside. It recovers lost prana. And here is a secret that very few people tell you. In just one night, when prana is fully returned to the spinal axis, the body's self-healing system is reactivated. 4. The spinal axis, the secret path to rejuvenation. In ancient yoga scriptures, the spine is called Meru Danda, the axis of Mount Meru, the axis of the universe in miniature within a person. When you live by the senses, prana goes down, consciousness goes down, energy disperses. When you practice Kriya, prana goes up, ascending consciousness, converging energy. Rejuvenation does not occur in the skin. Rejuvenation occurs in the energy order. Rejuvenation after one night, when consciousness is brought back to its central axis. Now, I want you to understand something very important. After one night is not a miracle. It is the natural consequence of repositioning consciousness and prana. 1. What actually happens when you sleep? Most people sleep unconsciously. The body rests, but the mind is still running. The subconscious is still repeating. Prana is still leaking. Therefore, they wake up more tired than when they went to sleep. Conversely, when you practice Kriya Yoga before sleep, breathing slows down. The life axis opens up. Prana retracts to its center. The brain shifts to subtle waves. At this point, sleep is no longer just sleeping, but becomes a state of restructuring the entire system. 2. Breath, the key to reversing biological time. Yogananda teaches that Breath is the thread connecting the soul to the body. Each quick, shallow, unconscious breath equals one step closer to aging. Pranayama doesn't force breathing. It makes breathing so subtle that it almost disappears. Then, heart rate slows. Brain consumes less energy. Cells enter a deep recovery mode. You don't sleep less. You sleep more deeply in less time. 3. Rebalancing the nervous endocrine cellular system. After just one night of practicing Kriya correctly, the sympathetic nervous system calms down. The parasympathetic nervous system becomes dominant. Stress hormones decrease. Regeneration hormones increase. This is not a belief. This is the natural biological order when prana is guided correctly. 4. One night is a moment of awakening. One night doesn't make you immortal, but it ends the unconscious aging process. You wake up with a feeling of lightness, a clear mind, a flexible body, a peaceful consciousness. These are signs that you have entered a different life trajectory. Core Kriya technique, controlling prana along the spine. Dear friend, if you approach Kriya with a doing to achieve mindset, you will only go a very short distance. If you approach Kriya with a returning mindset, you are entering the door to true rejuvenation. 1. Controlling prana is not about forcing, but about guiding. The biggest mistake beginners make is trying to control their breath with tense willpower that only makes prana resist and disperse even more. Paramahansa Yogananda always emphasized, prana follows consciousness. Where there is still attention, there is life force. The core Kriya technique does not require you to breathe harder, but requires you to become more subtle. Subtle attention, subtle sensation in the spine, subtle perception of the flow of vital energy. 2. The spine, the axis controlling the entire process of birth, aging, sickness, and death. You may not know this, but every movement of prana along the spine directly affects your biological age. When prana flows downwards, energy enters survival, desire, fear. Flows outwards, energy dissipates through the senses. Turns inward and upward, energy returns to pure consciousness.
3. The core principle of Kriya. Consciousness leads, breath follows, prana operates. I will speak slowly so you can feel it. In Kriya Yoga, consciousness is placed in the spine, not in thoughts. Breath becomes a bridge, no longer a mechanical action. Prana automatically adjusts, like water flowing to the lowest point. You don't need to do too much. You need not to obstruct. When consciousness remains still in the spinal axis, prana finds its way back home. For why can just one night activate the rejuvenation process? Because during the night, the senses retreat. External influences decrease. The nervous system easily reestablishes order. If, before sleeping, you bring prana back to the central axis, all energy is no longer wasted on the outside world. What happens? Cells receive sufficient energy. The brain enters a state of deep recovery. The endocrine system is rebalanced. Cellular memory is refreshed. It's not magic. This is the subtle physiology of consciousness. 5. Signs you are practicing Kriya correctly. You don't need to wait years to know if you're on the right track. The earliest signs are usually breathing naturally slows down, a feeling of lightness along the spine. The body warms up pleasantly. The mind resists less. Deep sleep, but wakes up feeling refreshed. If you find yourself trying too hard, you are going off track. Correct Kriya is always accompanied by profound lightness. Rejuvenation is not just about the body. It's about returning to our original nature. Dear friend, if Kriya Yoga only helped rejuvenate the body, it wouldn't deserve the protection of sages for thousands of years. What Paramahansa Yogananda wanted to impart to humanity was not the youth of the body, but the youth of consciousness. 1. Why do some young people feel old? You've surely encountered people in their 30s with tired eyes, people who are healthy but have heavy minds, people who are alive but lack vitality. These are signs of an aging consciousness. The body only reflects its inner state. When consciousness shrinks, joy is blocked, the flow of life ceases. The body begins to mimic that decay. 2. True rejuvenation is restoring the flow of life. Yogananda once said, in many ways, one truth. The soul does not age. Only forgetfulness makes you think you are old. Kriya Yoga does not create anything new. It removes the layers of coverings. Covers of stress, covers of fear, covers of mistaken identification with body and mind. When these layers dissolve, the original flow of life emerges, and that flow of life is ageless. 3. When prana returns to the center, the false ego dissolves. The most miraculous thing that Kriya brings is not a younger face, but a profound inner relief. You no longer have to prove, race, fight against time, because you no longer stand within time as before. Your consciousness begins to touch the realm of non-birth and non-death. 4. Returning to the original state, the state of enlightened childhood. Childhood is not youthful because the skin is taut. Childhood is youthful because it has not yet been separated from the flow of life. When you practice Kriya Yoga deeply enough, surprise returns. Freshness appears in familiar things. Joy needs no reason. It is not an emotion. It is a state of being. 5. When you live from the original state, the body is merely a consequence. At this point, rejuvenating the body is no longer the goal. It becomes a natural consequence of a life. Less internal conflict, less energy leakage, less resistance to the flow of life. Your body then recovers faster, has fewer illnesses, possesses a calm, clear aura. It's not because you're doing it right, but because you're living in sync with the universe, living as a person rejuvenated from within, the Kriya philosophy of life. Dear friend, when Kriya Yoga goes into depth, it is no longer just about sitting in meditation. It becomes about how you are present in life. 1. People who rejuvenate from within don't rush. You will notice a subtle transformation. Less haste, less reaction, less energy wasted on unnecessary things. Not because you are passive, but because consciousness is at the center. When prana is stable, you don't need to chase the world. The world adjusts around you. 2. They know how to conserve energy as they conserve life. People who live according to the Kriya philosophy don't speak unnecessary words. Don't think unnecessary thoughts. Don't overconsume. They do not nurture inner conflict, not because they are austere, but because they clearly perceive the value of life force. Every action has an energy cost. Awakened people spend consciously. 3. They let time pass, but do not let themselves be carried away. Time still passes. Wrinkles may appear. The body still changes. But inside them, there is no feeling of being taken away. There is no fear of loss. There is no resistance. That is the sign of indestructible inner youth. 4. Rejuvenation becomes a consequence, not a goal. When you live in accordance with the Kriya rhythm, deep sleep, rapid body recovery, clear mind, deep gaze, not because you do something extra, but because you no longer do it wrong. Rejuvenation at this moment is like clear water reflects the sky. A pure body reflects the soul. 5. Those who live according to Kriya bring peaceful energy to others. Finally, and most beautifully, you don't need to teach. You don't need to persuade. Just being present. Your inner peace is enough to soothe others, inspire, evoke a remembrance of their original nature. That is the spirit that Paramahansa Yogananda brings to the world. Enlightenment is not about separating oneself from humanity, but about becoming a blessing to humanity. Namaste.